Once upon a time, there was a girl named Lauren Gata. She was a normal 12-year-old from a boring town in a boring state with a boring family and a boring life. Until one day, Lauren woke up and thought she was Lightning McQueen. Wait, that's not how it happened. It all started when one day my tongue swelled up to the size of a whoopee cushion and I went into anaphylactic shock. My mom brought me to the doctor and they told us to go to the hospital immediately, and that's what we did. At the hospital, in an attempt to reduce the swelling, they overdosed me on steroids and shut down my immune system. Not only did they overdose me on steroids, but they also didn't resolve any of my symptoms. My tongue was still swollen and I still could barely breathe. Within 3 days, I was acting like a 4-year-old. I couldn't walk, I could barely talk, I was having seizures, hallucinations, and I literally thought I was Lightning McQueen. This is not something a 12-year-old girl should think. After a full week in the hospital, no resolution was found, so they discharged me with the diagnosis of steroid euphoria. Basically, they said that my condition was their fault because they overdosed me on steroids and that they couldn't do anything about it. Over the next 2 weeks, my condition continued to worsen until my parents got so frustrated that they went to Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. I got to meet the plain white tees, which was pretty cool, but overall the visit was a fail. Finally, my uncle, who was a pediatrician, stepped in and decided to take control of the situation. He told me that I had Lyme disease, and since no one else was going to do anything about it, it was time for him to take action. He put a PICC line in my arm and we started IV antibiotic treatment. He sent me to a doctor in New York City who was a Lyme specialist, and he confirmed my diagnosis. After 6 months of antibiotic treatment, I felt like a whole new girl. I was renewed and back to my normal, now teenage life. That didn't last long. I got my PICC line out in the beginning of June in 2012, and by the time August of 2012 rolled around, my symptoms began to relapse. I was back in a wheelchair having seizures again, and we were back to square one. We went back to the doctor in New York City, and he told us that he was very confused by my regression and that he really couldn't help us. My parents were baffled. If this specialist didn't know what to do with me, then who did? After a couple months of researching new doctors, we took a trip to Washington, D.C. to go visit a new doctor, Dr. Jemzik. This man basically saved my life. He put another PICC line in my arm, and we began the torturous 9 months of IV treatments. After about 3 months of these treatments, my PICC line got severely infected. It was so bad that it had to be removed and I had to get a new line in my chest. The IV antibiotics that I was on were basically equivalent to cancer treatment. Every day I would wake up, drip antibiotics, and throw up. It was a never-ending cycle of pain and torture, and there was nothing I could do about it. After the 9 months were over, I got my PICC line out and resumed life as normal, at least as normal as it could get. But every day, I had the constant fear that I would wake up sick again. One day, this fear unfortunately came true. 1 month into my senior year of high school, I woke up and I couldn't walk. I freaked out, and so did my parents. We went back to Jemzik, and they told me that I needed IV again. The only problem was that North Carolina had passed a law that didn't allow for the transportation of antibiotics across state lines, and the doctor's office was in D.C. Not only was this an issue, but Lyme antibiotics were also declared experimental, so we couldn't get the antibiotics even if we had lived in D.C. It took me 4 long months of slowly getting worse and worse before we got the antibiotics. After 5 months of this IV protocol, my senior year came to a close and I was doing better. Now, I am a freshman in college and I am thriving. I attend one of the most prestigious public schools in the country. I'm on the board of a religious organization and I'm in a sorority. I still have some residual symptoms. I will wake up with headaches or extreme nausea, but other than that, I'm doing great. I also take a ton of pills every day, but I know, without them, I would be right back where I started, and I most definitely don't want that. I have a great group of friends that take care of me when I don't feel well, and I'm so thankful for them. Although the journey was tough, and I still have scars from it, I wouldn't change anything even if I could. Before my illness, I was weak. I couldn't stand pain, and I was the worst patient ever. Seriously, I would get a sore throat and be in bed for like 10 days. Having Lyme disease has made me the strong, resilient person I am today, and I am changed forever because of it.